Welcome to the Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship November meeting, and we're glad everybody's here. Tonight's meeting is with Joan Ranquet, and the title of her presentation tonight is Unlock the Secret Language of Animals with Joan Ranquet. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back to the SFF community. My name is Smith Prim. I'm the co-chairman for the Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship. Our other co-chairman is Catherine Smart. She's here with us tonight too. Catherine is also our writer and editor. Kim Kasdorf is our media director and handles the video and the posting to YouTube. So this meeting will be posted on YouTube in a couple of weeks after the presentation. Wanted to mention too about that posting it on YouTube. When you're here in person, you get the opportunity to speak with the presenter in our Q&A session. That comes near the end of our show here. But we do not post the question and answer on YouTube. So that's a unique thing of being here live tonight. So we're glad you're here for that. About Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship, our mission. We want everyone to know that SFF is here for you. Our nonprofit, all volunteers run organization is here to help you develop and enhance your spiritual, mystical, and metaphysical awareness and consciousness. We do that by sponsoring programs like this one tonight, designed to facilitate your personal growth and development and a holistic and spiritual approach to health and living. So, the speaker tonight is all about that, is with the Animal Communication. So wanted to also let you know that the program is being recorded. And if you would not like to be recorded, just turn your video off. Let's see. Before I introduce the speaker, we like to do a little centering. And tonight, just something to maybe bring, it's on my mind a lot, our latest election and any anxiety you might be having. I know that's going around a lot. It's kind of like a little cold or flu. And as we do the couple of minute meditation, release all that, release anything else that might be bothering you, because it's there's no reason to worry about things. It's going to work out. Things are going to work out. It's going to be just fine. So if you could join me, just close your eyes and we're going to do a 3-breath meditation, and take a breath in and breathe in love and light into your heart and into your mind. And when you exhale the problems of your day, not enough gas in the car, and anything else that might be bothering you. And on the second breath, take another breath in, more love and light. And when you exhale, release whatever's left. And on our third breath in, we're going to breathe in as much love and light as an inhale will allow you, and just surround your mind and your heart with the fellowship of the people that are here tonight, and that we're all in this thing together. And we're glad to have a speaker here to help us develop our skills. So breathe in and exhale. Now that's short. You can do more after the show, but that'll help us clear our minds and get focused. I want to say that I'm very honored to introduce our tonight's speaker. It is Joan Ranquet. And one of the intro lines on our website, if you did not happen to get to read it, is imagine how your life could change if you could truly understand the feelings and desires of animals. What if you knew you could understand the words they want to share with you, and that they can understand you too? Believe it or not, you will learn to do that tonight. And I say, like anything, being an artist is practice. So what we learn tonight, put it into practice, and it'll get more real for you. So a little about Joan and why would you attend. Tonight in the 2-hour session here on Zoom, Joan will guide you through the basics of telepathic communication with animals, and helping you, and these are at least four items that are listed, are to use telepathy and to send and receive pictures, words, and feelings with your pets. Number two is to address behavioral and health challenges by reframing the communication between you and your animal. You will also achieve a neutral, grounded state so you can clearly hear and feel what your animal is requesting. And also connect with the essence of each animal and discover their favorite things, essentials for deepening your bond. Just a little more about Joan. She has, let's see, but it was dubbed the Celebrity Animal Communicator in an AMC channel documentary. And she also has a book. The book is the top 25 people who do they love. Is that correct, Joan?
No.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. No, your book. That was the title of another thing. So it was a technique for animals and their humans. Is that right?
Yeah.
Emotional freedom.
I have three.
I got that wrong with the.
That's okay. I have a few. I actually just released a book today called Animal Communication 101, but my first book was called Communication with All Life. Second book is Energy Healing for Animals. And my third one is Emotional Freedom Technique for Animals.
Excellent, excellent. And at that point, this is where I'm going to turn it over to Joan. So take it away.
All right. Well, I'm super grateful to be here, and it's really nice to see all of you here. And so I thought I would share a little PowerPoint. And let me see. There, did that come up? Can you see that?
Yes, I can see it just fine.
Okay. So I always love to, get a sense from people. Are you ready to talk to animals? Is it possible? How do you know it's real? And how do I trust what I'm getting? I would love to, I want to kind of look at everybody. I have a fly in my house. Sorry, I live with horses, so we have flies at the end of the season. How many of you already feel like you communicate with animals? Okay, I'm starting to see some hands come up. All right, great. I love to ask that because, it's not, yeah, as you'll see, it's not just something for, it's not just a gift. I actually believe it's a skill. So, and I believe we are all animal communicators, and I'd love to help you see how this works. So, okay. So my name is Joan Ranquet. I'm an animal communicator, energy healer, author, TEDx speaker, and founder of Communication with All Life University. And that was my TEDx talk. And these are the books that I got to show you a moment ago. And like I said, today we just launched an ebook called Animal Communication 101. But I've been an animal communicator and energy healer to people with animals and sometimes people just want to know what's going on with their animal, just in general. Sometimes they have behavioral issues, sometimes they have wellness, and sometimes they have to make end-of-life decisions. Also in there would be performance, people that, go to horse shows or dog shows. I've helped people with performance issues from 4-H and Pony Club all the way to the Olympics and Westminster. But I've also always volunteered my time with unadoptable animals and rescues, and I have every type of client in between. Um, I I donate a lot of my time to speak and get, just raise awareness out there. And I also have the the great privilege of taking people on wildlife trips so that we can understand the fact that we've got so many endangered species out there that really, really, really need our help. Some of these wildlife trips have included the Bahamas, India, Borneo, Kenya, South Africa, Namibia, Rwanda, and Botswana. So I've really taken people, there's a lot of endangered species out there. So I just think it's so important to see them in their natural setting. Oops, I forgot this was a video. Um, anyway, so um, and I've been teaching animal communication since 1998. And I started my program, Communication with Wildlife University, in 2009. And I have programs for beginners, like Talk to the Animals. And then I have even all the way to professional. Like actually have a group here at my house right now that are in the other room working on animal medical intuition. Um, so I was always deeply connected and I was very connected, but I didn't necessarily know that what I was doing was communicating with animals. I wanted to be able to have some sort of a backup because I didn't want it to ever go away. Um, so I wanted it to be consistent. And so that's basically the way that I've been teaching. But the I was super in love with horses. I think that someone was it the Catherine? You have horses, right? And you started out when you were 8. I started out when I was 7. And actually, the joke was when I was a kid that I was raised as a small lap dog. So you can see that my dad actually likes that dog better than me there in that picture. And I have a feeling that a lot of you are a lot like me. Um, so I was so in love with horses. This is my very first horse, and it was a really, really long time ago, 1969, as it says on the picture there. I was 7 or 8 years old, um, and well, I won the horse. So what happened was I had gone to this school, and there was a school raffle for to raise money for the school I was going to, and they were raffling off a horse. And my mother bought 5 chances, and she said, "Oh, I bought 5 chances." And so when the horse came out, we were at the horse show where the horse was. When the horse came out, I said, "Oh, there's my horse." And my mom said, "Oh no, honey," trying not to get my hopes up. "Oh no, honey, we bought some chances, but that's not your horse." Anyway, I knew it was my horse. And I went home and I told all the neighbor kids that I had won a horse. And my dad was not somebody that swore at all. And I'll never forget, I'm out in the backyard with all these kids playing. And the phone rings. My dad answers the phone and he starts swearing because I had won the horse and he knew it would be very expensive. So anyway, we we I had Hanky Panky was his name for a little while, and I got to learn all sorts of things with him. But in the end, he was untrained. He was 2 years old, and I was 7. And my parents had just promised that I would get a horse later on, and eventually I did. So, but it was heartbreaking to let go of Hanky Panky. But by 10, I was just unreasonable, and they let me get another horse. So I was just completely in love, crazy in love with horses. And I always say that this horse, Honey Horse, is who raised me. And if you do believe in reincarnation, I've got her outside right now. Um, anyway, so in the 80s, I had this horse named Pet One. So I'll back up. Was I used animal communicators, and this horse, Pet One, was the absolute my spiritual soulmate. Have any of you ever felt like you've had a spiritual soulmate animal? Yeah, so this was it. This was her. And so I had lost my sister in 1986, and this was probably a few years later. And I was riding. This was really, she's who kind of saved my life. Um, and I started using animal communicators, one animal communicator in particular, because it was so fun. And at the time, I was in the film industry, and I loved what I was doing. I loved what I was doing more than anything in the world. But here was this woman communicating with animals, and I went, every time I brought the animal communicator out, I felt so much more connected to my horse than sort of like it upped the connection. Does that make sense? It just really made me feel more connected. And and at that time I thought, well, I certainly love what I'm doing. And I used to say to the animal communicator, "Oh, I would love to do what you're doing." She's like, "You already are." And that's when I really got introduced to the concept that we're all animal communicators. But I still didn't believe it, right? I still had to bring her out. Um, and I couldn't really count on it. I was really not trusting it. And I tried to study, but this horse was absolutely, she brought me out of my grief of my sister, and she she was just everything. And at one point I bred her, and the night that she gave birth, she colicked. And if you know what colic is, it can be anywhere from, in a horse, it can be anywhere from a gassy tummy to death. And she was just on this side of death. And eventually I lost her. But in that 2 months she was in ICU, I now had an orphan colt who I had to raise. And so if you've ever lived in a stall, you start talking horse pretty quickly. Um, and so in many ways, this was the beginning of the journey started as a kid. But this really took it to the next level. So I had to raise this young guy. We're bottle feeding him and all the things, and he was absolutely, um, he was it. I lost Pet One about 2 months after the night she colicked, and it was just me and him for a while. And then somewhere in there, I was given this horse, Gabrielle, who really, so I had the orphan colt, and I had this horse, Gabrielle, and she and I had, we, well, when I look back on it in retrospect, I feel like we were both grieving the person. Like I lost that horse, Pet One, and she lost her person. But we ended up coming together, and she had more challenges than any horse I'd ever dealt with. And I brought the animal communicator out, and I learned body work, and I learned acupressure and all the things. And I still wasn't learning. And I finally, we couldn't solve this lameness issue. And I finally went to call the animal communicator, couldn't find her phone number. And the next day I found out about this class in animal communication. And so there I was, going to an animal communication class, learning all about how to do this myself. But what I didn't know at the time was that it was harder to communicate with your own animal just because you aren't as neutral. So, the what I so she became my true teacher, and then I eventually went on to learn communication for a year, and I spent a long, 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 long time. Um, and so these are my friends that brought me to this, and I always say that they are my friends, that that they brought me to this work. And I wondered if any of you feel like you have some sort of a soulmate that brought you to this work or has brought you to being curious. Anybody?
I'm looking for him.
Yeah, I see some hands. Yeah, and it's there's kind of uh no getting away from it, right? So I thought I was taking a class to learn how to talk to my horse and figure out what was going on. And it turns out I was getting a whole career trajectory, but I didn't know it at the time. And I want all of you to know. So if we could take the hands down, I would love to see um, who all feels like you are communicating with your animal at this point.
It looks like several, yes.
Yeah. And it's and then if you bring your hands down for a moment, how many of you feel like you can count on it? How many is that? Well, Kim, I see that you have a picture of you and your dog, so that's certainly I saw on the other computer you and your dog. Um, yeah. So I always think that the more we understand how it works. So we're already communicating with animals, whether we know it or not. And I always say that you're likely one of those very connected types, and you're probably already communicating. And you may think it's a hit or miss sort of thing, or you're still kind of mystified and saying, I wonder, I think it's this, but I wonder what it really is. Um, and I imagine that if you're interested in this, you're the type to commune with nature. This was actually in Borneo. It was a wild gibbon that we hiked way up in the trees and were able to be as tall. We hiked up a mountain that was right next to these tall, tall trees, and we're right there with this gibbon family. And so, for those of you that, you know, do commune with nature, sometimes you don't know what to call it. And I imagine that you're already doing energy healing and you wouldn't know it. How many of you do energy healing with your animals? Go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, it's quite a few. Pretty cool. Um, and so some people are accidentally, some people are intentionally, but it's something we all have. We all are able to do this. Um, and I imagine that many of you are the type that if there's a dog running along, you know, loose and scared, that you're probably the type to get the dog, be able to catch the dog. Or maybe you're that sort of person that can pull a hook out of a seagull's foot. I mean, I always say that we're a special breed. We're the animal empaths. And so, animals know that they're safe with us. And that's, for animals, that's the most important thing is feeling safe. So I have a feeling for those of you that didn't raise your hand, that there's still a few of you out there that already are doing this, but you wouldn't have defined it before now. And so I would love to help you not only define it, but develop it to the point where it's a skill you can count on. We'll do a little bit of something here. Um, and so I love to say um, there's connection, communication, and communion. Um, And connection is something that, we have with our animals at the very beginning. Communication is something that we develop or remember that we can do. And then there's communion, which is what we do out there with wildlife on the trips. And I imagine many of you do a lot of this anyway. I mean, I have a family of ravens that live here. I'm communing with quite a few. How many of you have wildlife around you that you feel like you commune with? Yeah, absolutely. And so the beauty of recognizing it on this level is being able, you might be able to help someone who's really I know about 5 years ago, there was a raven with a broken wing. It had been hit by a car, and I was able to get quiet enough, let it know it was safe with me. It took a little bit, but I was able to catch it, put a blanket over it, get it into a box, get it to a wildlife center. So, these are the sorts of things that I think are, especially in the world we're living in right now, some of the most important skills there ever were. Um, as we um, so connection um, is absolutely where it starts and where we were when we were little. And like I said, maybe we didn't define it as communication, but communication itself is the telepathic communication. How many of you do have learned telepathic communication? Okay, cool. So telepathic communication is a transference of pictures, words, and feeling. And we're doing this all day long, every day, whether we know it or not. And we'll go into that a little more. And then communion is more of a wordless state where we are, yeah, like when I take people on dolphin trips afterwards, it's like, you communed with them, but you almost can't define it. We define it. We go into their world with them. Um, and there's like a knowing without knowing. Does that make sense? Has anyone ever had that? A knowing without knowing? Um, and what I love to share about that sort of communion is that has anyone read Rupert Sheldrake's book, Dogs Know When the Owners Are Coming Home? He talks about the morphic resonance. And what the morphic resonance is if you think about, well, I'll tell you about his experiments. So what he did was he's British, so he did a number of experiments where people were at work and their animals obviously were at home. And the dogs, he set a stamped camera up at home where the dogs were and a time-stamped camera at the person's office or place of work. And so the person who maybe left every day at 5 p.m. and went home left at a random time. And on the time-stamped camera at home, the dog got off the couch and went toward the door and waited for the person to come home. So we know there's a field of energy that we're connected in with our animals, even if we're not home, right? And he calls that the morphic resonance. And so that is another way in which we communicate at home. I'll tell you, I live with horses, and I had a friend that was keeping her horse with my horses, and she left on a trail ride with her horse. And about an hour after she left, my horses had a big panic. I think they saw, some wildlife, something very scary, not like a coyote or the normal wildlife here, possibly a cougar or a bear. Anyway, they saw something. They were all wound up. They were racing around and around and around. And like I said, it was 1 hour from the time my friend left with her horse. Well, when she came back from her trail ride, she said, "Oh my God, my horse lost it for no reason about an hour into the ride." And I said, you can't believe what happened here. So our horses felt the energy. Her one horse felt my three horses freaking out and started to get a little bit wound up and nervous on the trail and then realized there was nothing and then he carried on. But that's how connected we are. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. So communion and connection is as important, so to speak, as communication. I mean, it's all kind of under the same umbrella, but I think it's really important. And we can go ahead and talk about how it works. Um, so as an animal communicator and even an energy healer, I use telepathy, which is the transference of pictures, words, and feelings. And that's what I do. But I love to say that communication isn't, that telepathy isn't like this kind of you do this and I do this. I'm going to send and then I'm going to receive information. I like to say it's more like a state of being. And I don't know if you remember the old RKO radio. This is what we are. We're all walking broadcasters. So I'm sending and receiving at the same time, and so are you, and so is my dog. And one of the things that, obviously that you're a group that I can talk about this is, y- you know, what we learn through spiritual work is to be able to get quiet and so that we're not always broadcasting like our terrible mood. But not everybody does that, so it keeps animal communicators pretty busy. Um, so anyway, all living beings are broadcasting. We are sending and receiving information at all times. And obviously, that's something that we want to be doing. Um, and we can isolate things that we want to send, and we can isolate that, like, I want to hear from this one dog over here as opposed to all my dogs. Um, and so as an animal communicator making a living, I would help people with their animals. So they'd send me a picture or I'd go to their barn or their house. I'd get quiet. I would connect, get a sense of the pictures, words, and feelings from the animal. And from there, I would get what I called the essence of the animal. And the essence of the animal is what I like to say is who they are in the world, how they showed up. I mean, it's kind of the blend of like their persona meets their soul. So, for example, I had a horse named Raleigh for many years, and I would say his essence was he was a gentleman, he was a statesman, he took care of the herd, he loved to ride with me. I always said that we were like bread and ginger when we would do dressage, and he was very much my knight in shining armor. All these things kind of describe, and you get a sense of who he is from that situation, from that description. And then when we do animal communication, whether it's me as an animal communicator or the students in my school, we get a sense of the essence and also the favorite things, the favorite foods, the favorite toys, the favorite animals. And then I love to do a medical intuition scan and get a sense of the overall structure, organs, systems in the body. And then if the person is an equestrian, then I get a sense of how the horse moves, how the rider interacts with that, and all of this. Then I share it with the human. And then from there, we might be able to do question and answer. So that's how it works as a profession, but it is something that, like I said, I believe we are all animal communicators. So, um, what I would love to do, I want to see if I can see, I'm going to step away from my, oops, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute.
Okay.
And I'm going to go to gallery. There we are.
Yeah, I removed the spotlight. So
Thank you. So how many of you, like I had asked earlier, how many of you are communicating with your animals? And how many of you get pictures from your animals? How many of you get words or concepts from your animals? Okay, good. And then last, how many of you get pictures from your animals? I mean, feelings from your animals. I would guess all of you get feelings from animals. Haven't you ever walked into a room and felt an animal was like in despair? Or you can see, yeah. See, that is the thing, is that I think almost everybody on the planet gets feelings. And that in that way, I'm able to say, even if you don't think you're communicating with animals telepathically, that's when I know for sure I can say to you, yeah, you're already an animal communicator. Um, and honestly, when you think about animal communication, its very early form, it was something that we were born doing, right? We were born communicating this way. This is how we told our mothers, our fathers, our caregivers what was going on. We understood, or we felt their fear about something, or I mean, some of our earliest wounding comes from what was unspoken in those early, whether it was in the womb or just the miscommunication that might have happened. But we were dependent on telepathy. And so, and we still do it. It's just that we don't know we do it. And so we'll go through an exercise here in a minute, but I just wanted to set up that it is something we're all doing. And I liken it to getting on a bicycle and it's like even though you maybe haven't done it in a while purposely, people that if you rode a bike as a kid and you got on a bicycle, you're still going to have the muscle memory to be able to keep riding. It's just that uh, we we forgot we could do this. So in this next little exercise, we're going to get a sense of how it works. So does anyone have any questions for me so far? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, I can't. I'm so terrible about reading the chat.
okay, I was looking at it. Looks like we're good for right now.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm gonna.
Are you going to go back to your presentation?
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Of course, I'm not
You
the
hit your
most.
share screen at the bottom, the green button, and then you'll be
Yeah.
able to,
All right. So,
and then I'll spotlight you as before.
all right. So again, I wanted to go back and just remind everyone I believe we're all animal communicators, so it's going to be very simple what we're going to do. So we're going to start with a little bit of a meditation, and then I'm going to have you talk to my cat, Henry. So here's the meditation. Um, Actually, I'll just go ahead and have you. So my cat, Henry, he's 15, and he lives here with his brother and his sister, and also two dogs and a few horses. And I've had him since he was born. So I love to start with that. And we're just going to do a little meditation and move into a space of communicating with Henry. So let's go ahead and close our eyes and put both feet on the floor. And let's go ahead and I want you to breathe into the bottom of your feet and really ground your energy. And I want you to become aware of anything that's going on in you physically. So move your awareness from the bottom of your feet all the way up your legs, into your hips, into your chest, into your neck. Become aware of your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your fingers, moving your awareness up into your head. Become aware of your eyes and ears and nose and mouth, and even your sight and hearing and smell and taste. All that can become part of telepathy. So I want you to just feel into everything that is you right now, physically. And if you have any aches or pains, let's just put those in a bubble and let them float away. And breathe into what it might be like to be neutral physically. And now I want you to see what's going on in your mind. Is it busy? Can you get really quiet? Is there any way you can move all the thoughts out of your head? Let's just put all those thoughts into a bubble and let them float away. And now I want you to move your awareness into any feelings or emotions you have right now. And if you have some feelings or emotions that aren't going to serve us right now to talk to my cat Henry, let's go ahead and put those in a bubble and let them float away. And I want you to feel what it's like to be as neutral as you can feel the next couple of minutes. I'm going to let us really move into the timer on. Getting a sense of being as neutral as we can be, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And as things come up, Just put them in a bubble and let them float away, being neutral mentally, physically, and emotionally. Now I want you to move your awareness into your heart center, and I want you to feel it expanding. And I want you to fill it with pink, which is the color for unconditional love and for animals. And I want you to feel it expanding, getting bigger and bigger. And then I want you to look at that picture of Henry on your screen and bring him into your heart and get a sense of his essence, who he is in the world, how he shows up, what his persona is, and his favorite thing, favorite people, animals, activities, food, all the things. So just take a few minutes. I give you some time here. If you feel like you want to write something down, go ahead and write it down, getting a sense of his essence. Okay, finish writing anything down. Okay, and I'm going to stop share again. Can we? There we go. All right. Did anyone? Let's see. Catherine got some stuff. Catherine's busy writing about.
Yeah, she's our writer. She definitely. I'm looking at the chat, seeing if I see anyone or a hand. So by hand or in the chat, and I'll call it out for Joe. Does anybody want to ask a question? I'm looking at a list.
Or
Looking.
share what you got from Henry, Catherine. Okay. Catherine says he seems wise, but I felt like laughing. Okay. Anything else?
Well, I will say that I had my pet passed away. It was a cat I had for many years, and the best cat in the world, really sweet cat. But I had this vision that she was like in a room with other cats, and they were all kind of sitting around, and just kind of, hanging out, being happy.
Oh,
It was just, it was a picture. This is what I saw.
that's beautiful. Anyone else get a sense from something? Diane?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Um, I felt like he is, first of all, he loves being admired. He thinks he's incredibly handsome and he loves it when people admire him. He thinks that he loves to observe and evaluate. He says that he's a teacher and healer. And he looks upon your place as like this is part of his kingdom, and he loves to think that he's a unifier in your kingdom, and that he really helps keep the peace and the connection with you and all of your animals. So he really thinks of himself as a real connecting rod.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think Jane had her hand up. Jane?
Okay, and so before I confirm that, I'm going to get a couple more. Go ahead, Jane.
I wrote a few things in the chat. I heard tuna, steadfast, owns the place, playful, and earnest.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
It looks like I see some people in the chat. Do you have your chat open? And say I'm gonna scroll up.
Okay.
With I think beyond what Catherine was that he was Catherine's was he makes me see humor, very curious, and then Cherie, uh, he is proud of how he looks, and then C Wait, especially in younger days, and now he is more revered and he is chilled, and other animals respect him, love him. And Vicki Johnson watches over others, observer, likes tuna play with ropes. And I have two more comments that I see. One from Cherie, flower pots, something going on there, mouse living there.
I call her Melina. I've even given her a name, the mouse that lives here.
Okay. And Catherine said, like he said, who are you? There's a few more. See, wait, and he likes checking out everyone's food. And CB says, likes crunchy food, a tan horse is friend, rolls over to expose belly.
Okay. Well, I wrote all that down because I want to go over that. That was amazing. He is definitely, so I call him King Henry, and I always say that he's the heart of the house. So the connector, the unifier, that was really great. He definitely loves to be admired. He knows he's handsome. He thinks, he definitely observes. He's always kind of, observing, and he'll get involved, but he starts as an observer, whereas, one of my other cats, he just jumps in. So he definitely is that. He's very much a teacher and he's very much a healer, and this is totally his kingdom. And he is the like I said, the heart of the house. And he will be the one, like we just lost a dog recently. He's the one to kind of grieve the hardest, and he definitely is the unifier. So someone else said about tuna and steadfast. He had tuna this morning. Um, he loves that. He's very steadfast. He is the least adventurous of my cats. My other cat, Queen Latifah, would love to go outside every day, and I have to walk her because I have so many predators. So I'm very careful how I do that. But with him, he doesn't even really care about going outside. He loves his home. He's playful every night. I put the dogs out. When I put the dogs out for bones a couple nights a week, he and his brother come into play. Um, and he is earnest, and he is funny. He also has uh he's very proud of how he looks. He knows he's handsome. Um, let's see. He is revered and chilled. And if you hear somebody kind of squawking along, it's Henry right now. I always say that he likes to echolocate and make sure we all know where he is in time and space. So he was just doing his little evening echolocation. Um, he's definitely the animals definitely respect and love him. And then it's funny that the playing with ropes. There's a cat tree over here that is lined with ropes, and so he loves to get his claws in that. Um, there are definitely the flower pots in another setting. He definitely would get in flower pots, but I have a lot of like cat grass out on the catio and stuff. So it's in a big it's in a pot. Like I said, there is a resident mouse, um, and somehow I don't know how that thing has stayed alive, but bless her. I hope I'm seeing the same mouse every day. I hope it's not that there's a whole family here. Although, with mice, it could be. Um, he definitely is my most food driven of all the cats. Um, and he loves, I do a lot of raw food. I do a little bit of everything, but uh, at night before we go to bed, he gets some crunchy treats, which he's the first one there usually. So he loves that. He loves to sleep exposing his belly. And I had a lighter colored I have dark horses mostly, but the lightest horse he was very good friends with, and we lost her a year ago. It'll be a year in December. But he still knows. He hasn't been down to the horses as much. He used to in the old days, but there's still a horse here that he's very attached to, Anya. So that was great. Did anyone get anything else? That was amazing, you guys. Nothing else?
Yeah, only one was added I saw after the last one, which was likes the crunchy food, rolls over to exposed belly, was Catherine. I got the mouse too and something fishy to eat.
Yeah, they eat mostly fishy stuff in the morning. Definitely. Yeah. Um, so and it's I like to say that it's easier to really communicate with someone else's animals in some ways because um, it's neutral, right? Like you don't have an agenda about whether I have a mouse or not. Whereas with your own animal, you might have like, oh, I need him to do this, or I need her to love this. I hope they love to do what I love to do. Does that make sense? Um, so that's why I like to do that that way. But I'm happy to, yeah, we can certainly check in with what you have going on. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again. If I can. So what I love to so what does I always like to review like what does it take to do, and what did we just do? So we were quiet, we did a meditation, we got rid of our filters, and we got neutral and we got rid of our filters. And I love to talk about filters because um for example, right now I have this workshop that's going on at my place the last few days, and it's on animal medical intuition. And one of the women said, well, I got more kind of behavior and psychological stuff than I did the medical intuition. And I said, yeah, you're a therapist. in real, that was her job before. So it's like we have a filter. Like she's always going to look through the filter of being a therapist. So we unearth to get a little more neutral. But some of you that got more pictures, some of you may be artists or photographers. Some of you that got more words, like Catherine is the writer, right? Like I was like that too. When I first started doing this, I was in the film industry. I was an actress and a writer. I got feelings and words, my two filters. It was a long time before I got pictures. But once I got pictures, I realized I was always getting pictures. Um, so then, you know, so we have to be aware of our filter. How do we get neutral? How do we meditate? And then it's trusting, because I would guess that some of you didn't write something in, and yet you saw what you got in the chat or heard somebody else say it. So we really have to develop trust. And then we have to practice, because anything we want to do well always requires some practice. And then we want to make sure we're in a safe environment, right? Like you don't want to say to your friend that doesn't believe in animal communication, hey, can I talk to your cat? So, you want to set yourself up to be in that situation. And when we're getting started, being in a structured environment with a guide, like someone like me, is best. And I love to get people. I have a lot of different classes, and one of the reasons, that I think people are drawn to it is they're with a bunch of other um, like-minded people. I mean, some of you may get communication easily and effortlessly, but for other people, it's not always, it's a little more hit or miss and more inspiration based, which I always say, well, inspiration is great, but unless you have, um, I mean, it's sort of like writing. You know this, Catherine, if you were to sit and wait for inspiration to hit, you'd never get anything done. And for me to get a few books out, and I just delivered another book to my publisher, um, I couldn't wait for inspiration. I had to have a structured situation. So this is very, very, very much like that. And in the structured situation of teaching animal communication, how did you guys get a little more trust after this? Well, I was able to verify it. And that's so important, is the verification helps to build confidence. And then it's always fun to be in a community of people that that love, that feel the same way as animals. And I always say that animal empaths are people that were overly sensitive. We may have been the weirdo in life, and we like animals sometimes more than people. Does anyone relate to that? Yeah, I bet. Okay, so, and I just thought of this. I don't have this in here, but I do have a free group. I'm gonna put this. If you're on Facebook, somehow I just hid the chat. Right. I'm gonna just in here. What did I just do to the chat? There it is. That's a free group that I have on Facebook, and I do a, a live every Tuesday, and we do different things. Like sometimes we communicate with animals. Sometimes I do massive readings. Sometimes I do EFT, emotional freedom technique, with the animals. Um, Sometimes I bring on guests. So that's a great way to stay involved with all of this. Um, but and then of course other ways is the other ways are to put yourself in a situation where sorry, I went back to my thing without bringing you with me. So one of the most important things that we can do if we want to be good at this and want it to be consistent is to practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. And we want to do that, like I said, in a safe environment. And when I say a safe environment, like a lot of my classes and things that we do and having a community, if we're doing it in the structured setting, I always say that we're kind of creating an on and off button, right? We're not waiting for that inspiration. Like we turned the button on and we moved into it. And now we're not in that space so much. And for me, animal communication is very much learning animal communication in a structured setting. Also, as you're able to learn from even more neutral animals. And when we are, I always say that telepathy, that we're building a telepathic muscle, right? So we're creating, this becomes a muscle. Like I said earlier, that like we were born doing this when we were kids, and then we kind of stepped away from it, and tonight we got back on the bicycle. So it's something that we're always doing. And now that we brought the awareness to it, you're going to see that you're doing it all the time. So you're going to start building your telepathic muscle. And then there's some other muscles in this, I would say. And one of those muscles is trust. We have to trust ourselves. And then eventually we build confidence. And I often, one of the biggest obstacles to communicating with animals is doubt. And I say that we can't just get rid of our doubt, but we have to embrace our doubt, because doubt makes us humble, and doubt keeps us curious, and doubt doesn't have to take over the show, right? We can just have that doubt for a moment and still carry on. And so, and the more we have built that telepathic muscle, the less that doubt has sway over us. Does that make sense? And then with practice, you just keep rinse and repeat, and it's becomes something that we're able to do like an on-off button. We're not waiting, like I said, for that inspiration. So what I would love to find out real quick is, does anyone have any things at home that you have going on where you're trying to figure out with an animal? Jane?
Yes. Well, I see a few. Who did you say, Jane? Go first.
Yeah.
Thanks. I have a cat, and she loves to be outside. She's a real nature girl. And I have trouble getting her in at night. And for a while, I learned a technique about a heart cord, connecting with her heart cord, and I was able to kind of get her inside. But sometimes she's out until 1:30 at night and stuff. And I'm I have chronic insomnia, so I'm trying to get to bed early, and I find myself, getting angry at her, and you've got to come in. So I think I'm going to try some of this technique and ask her, what's going on.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
maybe
the
I'm
other
just,
thing,
go
what's
ahead.
that?
Oh, maybe it's like I can't control her. You can't control her, Jane, but yeah.
Okay, so if I were going to break this down, I would break it down in a few ways. Let's say, number one, you need your cat to come in, right? So just from an energetic standpoint, there's already some tentacles with that, right? You're not pulling her in with that need. You're almost, we accidentally push away when we need something.
Right.
So that's number one. And then you add in, which is perfectly natural. I always say that I'm the cussing animal communicator. You get a little angry, right?
Yeah.
And so then that pushes away even further. And then on
Yeah.
top of it all, you have your insomnia, which might also make you upset or frustrated or all those things, right? So and I'm not saying you're pushing her away, but those are the things that could be a little bit of pressure on her. So more than anything, and you know the biggest thing with animals, whether it's animals in the wild or Catherine would know this from riding horses, it's like animals respond to pressure and release. So if you that and all training is built on this concept, which we get from the wild. If you look at like, you know, there's a bunch of deer over here, and all of a sudden the predator comes through, that's pressure. The animals run off, that's release, unless somebody's caught. But in the meantime, the deer are responding to the pressure, and the mountain lion is putting the pressure on, right? So this is the fundamental way that the animal kingdom works, and it is how all training is built. So if you're having insomnia and you're frustrated, you need her to come in, and you might get mad. That again, this is not a blame, it's just added pressure. And so the release for her is to stay in curiosity out there,
Yeah.
right? So then how can you create curiosity in the home each night? And maybe even think about getting more neutral, which might help the insomnia, staying more in that neutral space, being curious about, I wonder what will get her in tonight, and making it more fun. And then also, I mean, just a practical thing is if if I'm on a hike with my dogs, I don't feed my dogs. One of my dogs could run off, but I don't feed them breakfast until about 8:30 instead of first thing in the morning because I take them out on like a big hour hike. And I know she's going to stay with me if she knows breakfast is at the end. So I wouldn't leave any food out, and I'd make sure that I was bribing her back with food at, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whatever time you want her to come back in.
Yeah. Yeah. She eats in the middle of the night. So it's not she doesn't have breakfast or anything. Yeah. And I'll even like get her food ready and, be all have dinner ready and stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of it is my emotion that I need to work on.
And again,
Yeah.
it's never a blame. It's just we don't realize how much
Right.
pressure we are on them, right?
Yeah.
How much we're contributing to them going, I'm just going to stay out.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
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 Does that help?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I think CB was up next.
Okay.
Hi, Joan. I'm really loving everything you're sharing.
Thank
I
you.
have a dog that I adopted from the shelter 5.5 years ago, and he was abused, and he has been my biggest teacher of showing me pictures. At first I was thinking I made these things up, and then I'd realize it came in so quickly and things I would not even think to make up, kind of. Anyway, I was recently bitten by him because he has PTSD, and I know he has triggers. And what do I? So I'm still trying to work with him. He used to have a lot of nighttime anxiety, and we've gotten that under really good control. But I do have to be careful touching him, and that may, especially if he's on his back, um, certain things that we probably just can't do. But I guess I'd want to know anything that you might could add that I could do. And then I did see you had a book on EFT. Maybe that's something I could try with him, because when I first got him, he was fine for the first couple of months, I had a dog show up who really probably saved all our lives. She came in a thunderstorm on Halloween, Stella, and she became his mom and teacher of, he would see what I would do with Stella, and then he would know it would be safe for me to do that to him, like brush him, or because I couldn't really touch him without him wanting to bite. So he learned how to trust and be a dog, more with her around, but she passed in January. So now, we've made a ritual of him being part of going down to, I have a horse and a donkey. He goes down twice a day with us to feed them, and he gets carrots too. And, he's immersed himself in the family. I have 2 cats, pretty well, but I pushed him past his limit when he bit me, and I saw the look in his eyes, but I didn't think he would bite me. So I have a much more respect for him now. I still have a little trauma in myself, around that whole episode, because he bit me twice. He didn't just bite me once. He exploded on me, kind of. So what could you say with the EFT? Could I try that, you think, with your book?
Yeah, I mean, again, let's back up like 50 steps. First and foremost, I love to remind people that when we adopt an animal, as much as they think it seems like it was love at first sight, so much easier than it is with humans, right?
Mhm.
I always say that people would go online and, find a picture of a cat that they would say, I could live with you forever. And we would never do that with on a dating site. But anyway, so even if you experience like this love at first sight, or this is, like you said, your best teacher, the first few months to up to a year, those animals are auditioning for us. Even no matter how cute and sweet they are, they are in a complete audition. And because the number one thing that every single one of us, no matter what species we are, we absolutely, fundamentally, to our core, need safety. And so if that animal that first moves into our house, dog, cat, pig, sheep, guinea pig, horse, they're looking for all the ways that they see safety. How am I safe? And so the other dog that showed up obviously helped him feel safe, right?
Yes.
And now that you don't have the other dog, what do you think that day that he bit you, what do we think was different that you did that created pressure where he didn't feel safe?
Well, the dog that died, Stella, she had chronic ear problems, and so Waylon is a hound mix. This is my adopted dog, and so he has long ears, kind of. And so I had started. He would see me cleaning Stella's ears, and he would sit there for me to clean his ears. So at first, I would just touch them. I could tell his body would be tense. He would be scared, but he would, just touch them lightly. Long story short, I gradually built up to where I could actually take a little wipe and clean his ears out. So the day he bit me, I was cleaning his ears and not paying attention. I was not fully present. I cleaned the one ear, and I clearly heard I needed to give him a treat. He's very food motivated. He'll do anything for a treat. And I thought, no, he can wait till I do the next ear. So he was being very good by holding himself together, and I saw his eyes getting darker. I did the other ear, and then I knew I should give the treat, but I just totally was zoned out, and I thought, I'm going to see if I can go a little deeper in this ear, like an idiot. And so he snapped. He couldn't take it anymore. So he bit my hand, and then he lunged at me because I felt like he exploded. But I kept pushing. When I looked back at it, I saw the sign, didn't listen, saw it again, didn't listen, went further, and then I got bit. So that was, I pushed him beyond his comfort zone. And then I realized I've taken chances that I probably shouldn't have, being like trying to cut his nails, for example. That's, I did try that one day. I did one nail. He growled and he didn't bite me. He could have, but I was on the floor with him, and it was just too dangerous, because my vets told me I should have him euthanized, but I can't give up on him, and I just can't do that. So to answer your question, I pushed him beyond his comfort with his ears.
And do you have PTSD around this?
Pardon?
Do you have PTSD around this?
Yeah. Yes, I still have some trauma from that whole experience. I was in the vet's office the next week and a little chihuahua barked beside me and I almost burst into tears. So I realized I'm 72 years old. I've had animals my whole life. I've never had to be afraid of an animal like this. I don't want to be afraid of him. I'm just being aware, and I realize that if he were around people and he got, say, his foot stepped on and thought somebody hurt him, because he was really mistreated. That's what he's shown me, the things that, he was, and yeah, he was just really, really mistreated, almost like for fun, just poked and prodded and harassed. And yeah, so I just feel
Okay,
like
and I want to back up. And first of all, in the very back of my, oops, the light is weird. So in my book, EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique,
mm-hmm,
there are sample scripts, and you would fill those out on behalf of your animal. So you'd
mm-hmm.
almost have to be Waylon for a minute and then fill this out, and then you could tap on him. And if you thought it was too threatening with your hand on his face, you could always kind of tap in the air or tap on yourself or on a stuffed animal or
Mhm.
another dog. There's all sorts of ways to do it. But or I have lots of students that need case studies. I'm just going to type this in, and you could reach out to. And also, if anyone wants a little meditation, we have free meditations and things if you write to assist at joanranquet.com. But so there's ways to help him. And real quick, what if we did just a moment of tapping?
Okay, you mean now?
Yeah. So CB,
Oh, sure.
does
We are.
anyone else?
Let me say this. We are at our break for like a 5-minute break. Right.
Okay.
We can do that and then take the break, or we can
Let's
wait till
do
after
that.
the break. You want to wait till after the break?
No, we'll do it right now.
Do it
Just
now.
a
Okay.
quick little pressure release.
Sounds good.
Does anyone else have an animal at home that has reactivity?
Catherine had a question, and I don't know if Catherine wants to hold her question till the question time. What do you think, Catherine?
Okay, Joan, I have a horse. I've had the horse for 3 years.
Wait. I'm so sorry. I want to tap with CB real
I know
quick.
you do, but I was just
And
gonna,
then, oh, go ahead.
okay, you said, does anybody else have,
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm so sorry. Yes.
so he has some nipping issues as well. But he was so much more mouthy when I got him at 5, and he's much better, but he's still he doesn't do it out of being mean. He's not,
Right.
he's just, it's his way of like acting like let's play, or I want to get your attention like a little kid. Like he like, let me just see if I can do it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to fully set the barrier that says you may not do that. That is not funny. Don't want it, Um, and I try not to be too harsh with him unless he really gets too close to comfort, and then I'm like, kind of push him, I might react back to him. But anyway, he does have a little bit of that.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later, but it's not out of it's not it's not aggressive in the same way, I don't think.
You know what? But I don't use, I try to stay away, like in this book, I try to stay away from aggression, the word aggressive,
Yeah.
because again, I think we're reacting. It's
Oh, yeah.
reactivity, right?
Well,
So even with your horse, he's being like, "Hey, I need something.
yeah,
Let
he's
me
just
see
like,
what I can do."
yeah, exactly. I agree with
But
you.
Yeah, and it's the scale isn't that far from what CB's got, right? Because it could turn into something worse.
Right.
I know because I've had some mouthy
Mouth,
horses.
exactly.
Yeah,
And they're big and they have teeth, big teeth, you
they
know.
have big teeth and that jaw can clamp like
Yeah.
yeah, vice grip. Okay.
So,
That,
but you know, I
oh, go
don't have
ahead.
trauma from it. I'm just teaching, I'm working on teaching him that that's not appropriate.
Okay. And then Lynn, what is your situation?
Lynn Rosen?
I have a 3-year-old who's on my lap right now. He's a Havanese and he is reactive. Hasn't always been that way, but in the last year, I've gotten better at reading his warnings. But he's also bitten me recently. I was trying to get him in the car and he was just absolutely not willing. And I guess I pushed him too much and he just turned around and bit me. And it was not a nip. It was, I'm not
Yeah.
happy. No.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have a little PTSD?
Yeah, a little.
Okay. All right. Okay. So CB, can you here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna have Lynn mute and Catherine mute, but all of you can choose to tap along with me, but CB, you're gonna repeat after me. You're all gonna repeat after me, but we're only gonna hear one voice. Otherwise it would be kind of wacky. So you're gonna follow me. I'm gonna tap here. I'm gonna tap on the inside of the eye, the outside of the eye, under the nose, under the lips, here at the collarbone, under the collarbone, and at the top of the head. If you're a traditionalist with EFT, I've taken out the spleen point only because when I'm working on animals, I don't want to startle them and reach around to the side after I've been tapping on them here. So I want, CB, I want you to think about, and Lynn and Catherine, your any PTSD or your frustration or I don't even know what to do with this. I want you to close your eyes and get to like a 10 with that feeling for a moment. And now let's go ahead and open your eyes and everyone can follow along. CB, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so starting with the karate chop point. Even though I love this dog
Even though I love this dog
and I do everything for him,
and I do everything for him,
and it's just so frustrating
and it's just so frustrating.
and it makes me sad.
Makes me sad.
And I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I can't believe I'm here,
Even though I can't believe I'm here.
it's just absurd.
It's just absurd.
I do everything for this dog.
I do everything for this dog,
And here he turns around and bites me.
and here he bites me.
And I love and accept myself.
And I love and accept myself.
Even though there are people that think that he's too much dog for me,
Even though there are people that think he's too much dog for me,
I honor the choices I'm making.
I honor the choices I'm making.
Tapping through the points. So starting with the inside of the eye. I am so sad.
I am so sad.
Outside of the eye. I am so sad.
I am so sad.
Under the eye. I'm sad.
I'm sad.
Under the nose. I'm sad.
I'm sad.
Under the lips. I can't believe it's gotten to this.
I can't believe it's gotten to this.
Collarbone. I do everything for this dog.
I do everything for this dog.
Top of the head. I can't believe he did this to me.
I can't believe he did this to me.
I'm so frustrated.
I'm so frustrated.
I've had dogs my whole life.
I've had dogs my whole life.
I love animals more than anything in the world.
I love animals more than anything in the world.
And here this dog bites me.
And here this dog bites me.
And I feel like I've come so far.
And I feel like I've come so far.
And in that instant, I felt like I was nowhere.
And in that instant, I felt like I was nowhere.
Suddenly, I was just so afraid.
Suddenly, I was just so afraid.
Now I'm reacting to his reaction.
Now I'm reacting to his reaction.
I'm so afraid.
I'm so afraid.
And I hate being afraid.
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 Makes me very sad.
Makes me very sad.
And also, if I'm honest, a little mad.
And also, if I'm honest, a little mad.
Because I've done everything for this damn dog.
Because I've done everything for this damn dog.
And here he is.
And here he is.
Disrespecting me completely.
Disrespecting me completely.
And yet, if I'm honest,
And yet, if I'm honest,
I may have accidentally disrespected him.
I may have accidentally disrespected him.
I just may have read the signs wrong.
I may have read the signs wrong.
And it's nobody's fault.
Nobody's fault.
I just did it.
I just did it.
So at the end of the day,
So at the end of the day,
I'm going to forgive myself.
I'm going to forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
I'm just a human that read the signs wrong.
I'm just a human that read those signs wrong.
Doesn't mean we're going backward.
Doesn't mean we're going backward.
Doesn't mean we're going sideways.
Doesn't mean we're going sideways.
I overstepped and then he showed me.
I overstepped and then he showed me.
And it's no big deal.
It's no big deal.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I've got my eye on his signs.
I've got my eye on his signs.
I am really ready to let this go because I love this dog more than anything in the world.
I'm really ready to let this go because I love this dog more than anything in the world.
He's been the best teacher I've ever had.
He's been the best teacher I ever had.
I thought I knew dog training,
I thought I knew dog training,
but now I know dog behavior.
but now I know dog behavior.
And I'm going to honor him by always paying attention.
I'm going to honor him by always paying attention.
And I'm going to honor my love of animals by being even better for him.
And I'm going to honor my love of animals by being even better for him.
We've got this.
We've got this.
We've got this.
We've got this.
Okay, and take a deep breath. So CB, how do you feel?
Feel much calmer.
Okay, good.
Mm.
And I'll come back to Lynn and Catherine, but I know I'm going to honor that we have to take a break for 5 minutes, and then we'll finish up, and I want to hear from Lynn and Catherine, and then any other questions, because it's, it's
Okay.
just, sometimes we just have to take that breath and realize that we can just be better.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay, I'll see you in a few.
Let's everybody thank Joan for a great presentation, and we will be right back after this break. Thank you.